What's up, guys? Welcome back to Unqualified Critics. Today I'm going to talk to you about the Killer Instinct cabinet. It's got a pre-production unit, I believe it is out there. Twisted Chris did a review on this. He did a really good video on it, so of course check that out. And there is footage out there elsewhere on YouTube with gameplay on the pre-release PCB. So Arcade1up has put this out there a little bit, presumably for testing and collecting input from people and then finalizing the cabinet. And I just went back and forth as to whether or not I should order one of these, and I decided not to, and that's why I'm talking to you about this review instead of doing a review myself. I just don't really want to spend 700 bucks on yet another cabinet I have to go out of my way to upgrade. Well, let me talk to you about this because we're seeing a pattern emerge with all the new 1UP cabinets. And it's not that there's an integrated coin door, because that is not on all of them, unfortunately, much to my chagrin, but we do get it on Killer Instinct. But it's that the Marquee artwork is washed out. I actually didn't even notice this for my X-Men. When I did that video, I missed it. But when I went back, I realized, yeah, it is washed out. It doesn't look as good and bold as the artwork on the Marquee from the past. So I don't know if they've changed up their printing process, or my guess is it's a different material that they're printing onto for the little paper insert inside the Marquee. But I really don't know. What I do know is it doesn't look as good as it has before. Also, the control panel is not tilted, which I think is unfortunate. I was really hoping we'd get a tilted control panel. I really like that about the big blue design. I'd like to see that standardized in cabinets where it makes sense, but we're not getting it for Killer Instinct, and I have no idea why. Also, it's a narrow control panel, of course. Chris spends a lot of time talking about that. You know, all the 1UP two-player control panels are going to be on the narrow side, but it's made worse by having the raised edges on the sides. Now, yes, the original hardware had those raised edges, of course. They're not really raised, but like, you know what I mean, the ridges of the T-molding. And so 1UP, I think, thinks it's more authentic to bring that here. The problem is the cabinets are already so narrow that this is one place where I don't care about the authenticity. They just need to go for practical, and I would like to see them do the full width control panel, where the control panel extends just to or even slightly past the top of that part of the cabinet. And they did that with Big Blue. They've done it with a ton of other Arcade 1UPs. I wish they'd get back to that like really quickly, because these edges are kind of lame. For the controls, it seems pretty clear. It's just the same old, same old. You're getting the exact same controls you get with every other Arcade 1UP. Again, honestly, part of the reason I'm not buying this, because it's already 700 bucks. I don't want to go out and spend, you know, 50, 80 bucks, whatever it is, to swap in great controls for both players. To me, it's not worth the money. Chris spends a lot of time talking about the speakers not being very good. I mean, I would add to that. I mean, it's not, the problem with the 1UPs is not just the speakers. It's not, oh, let me install some new speakers and this is going to be awesome. It's going to be the amplification too. It does not have a discrete amplifier. It simply has the really low wattage PCB that this thing runs, and it pulls just a little bit of power from that it can sip on to power some speakers for some audio. Like, of course that's going to be crap. And what a lot of people do, and Chris does it in this video, is take third-party speakers, probably like a computer desktop speaker system, which those aren't going to be great either, but you know, they're going to be better. They have their own amplifier, or you add an additional amp, and then you probably need to run power into the cabinet. Okay, so far so good. But then you just have the speakers in the cabinet, not actually pointed out of the cabinet through speaker holes. That's not going to be a good experience either. If you're going to spend that much time to go in and mount speakers, I'd really encourage you to mount those speakers so that they're projecting through the speaker holes. And even that's not great, because they're just little pinholes in MDF. It should be much more open and unobstructed than that. But look, let's just face it, these arcades without serious modification are never going to be hi-fi products. They're just not. I think it's a little bit unfortunate, but you know, the market, for whatever reason, us, the buyers, just don't seem to be super motivated by audio. I remember when iArcade first dropped, that was one of the big things they hung their hat on, was hi-fi audio. It has a discrete amplifier. It's got 100 watts of power. It's got unobstructed front-facing speakers. All these great things, but I don't know that people care that much. And unfortunately, Arcade1up hasn't seen fit to invest in better audio hardware. For the rest of the review, it's pretty good news. I mean, the software is apparently well done. Chris would know about that far better than I. I'm not a serious Killer Instinct player by any stretch of the imagination. I like the Code Mystics logo animation that kind of looks like the Rare logo animation. That was a really nice little touch. They always do these cool little touches on their cabinets. They have great scan lines. Chris complained a bit about the visuals looking pixelated without scan lines. I heard a lot of that with the Golden Tee cabinets and other people who reviewed Golden Tee, and I always kind of scratch my head at that because, you know, of course, when these games were created, the early Golden Tee titles, Killer Instinct 1 and 2, they're made for a CRT monitor. A CRT monitor has very peculiar properties. It has an interlaced image. It actually only displays half the image at once, and it flashes back and forth, so you're going to get less brightness, all things equal, but you're also just going to get a fuzzier, softer image with your brain filling in the gaps, and that's what it looked like scan lines. But then you also get a warped image because the old CRTs were curved, and they later introduced actually flat CRTs, but those were barely a blip before LCD panels took over in imaging. But the point is, the CRTs are going to warp your image and soften your image, and if you take that away and you display it pixel perfect, like, of course it's going to be pixelated. It's literally pixels, and it's large pixels at that, because these are pretty low resolution things displayed on a higher resolution monitor. I mean, it's just unavoidable. I don't see a problem with it. I like having the option for a pixel perfect display, but I also love having the option of scan lines, and I'm sure the scan lines are really well done here once again, because Code Mystics just cannot miss with good scan lines. I was really excited to see the Maya flashing scene, you guys know what I'm talking about, not censored. I figured we would get that censored in a modern release of Killer Instinct. Really glad that that's the case. Rounding this out, Chris talks about the artwork being a little less detailed, not completely color correct to the original. My guess is if you don't have original hardware to compare to, you're going to miss that. But overall, the cabinet looks pretty good. I did like in the menu screen where they hide the console releases of Battletoads under a bonus games menu. I do wonder, so the 8-bit, that's obviously the NES Battletoads. 16-bit, I'm assuming, is the Genesis version, but there was a Super Nintendo release of Battletoads, but it wasn't just called Battletoads, it had like a little subtitle, so I'm guessing that's not it. But, you know, of course, people aren't going to be buying this for 2 console Battletoads games. I remember hearing we were going to get more bonus games, presuming this is the final software, the final release, and there isn't going to be like a day one patch that maybe adds another game. I'm not seeing any extra bonus games that I thought I remember John D hinting at. But I don't think they really need to do extra bonus games. They just needed to do a good job with KI 1 and 2, and it looks like they have done that. So are they going to get your money, knowing that you might need to update your controls? Not sure. Otherwise, though, I mean, this really looks pretty standard for Arcade1up. Decent quality, but, you know, gaps. If you really want this thing to be fantastic, you're going to be spending some money, and you're going to be spending some time. Let me know in the comments if you plan to pick up KI. I'll put the original link to the review below, and I will talk to you guys soon.